Example 11 says given cosine s equals 2/3, and then they give you some information about where that angle is. Find cosine s over 2, sine s over 2, and tangent s over 2. We're finding some half angles, and this is there's one step in here that's kind of tricky. When you look at your cosine s over 2, let's do the first one. The half angle for cosine is going to be plus or minus square root of cosine s plus 1 over 2. Okay? Plus or minus means we're going to have to look at the quadrant, and that's a little bit difficult to do. You've got to really think hard about that. Okay? We are trying to talk about the half angle s over 2, but what we were given was information about the regular angle s. Okay? So like let's say s was 80 and we're looking at 40 or whatever. We're only looking at half the angle, and so the quadrant might not be the same as what they were showing us. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically divide by 2 so that we can look at the half angle. But we would divide everything by 2. Okay, divide all of those by 2 so that way we can look at the half angle. And that says 3 pi over 4 is less than s over 2 is less than pi. Okay? And that gives me some information about s over 2. It tells me what quadrant we're in. Okay? If you look at your quadrants, we know pi is here, and this is pi over 3 pi over 4 is like right here. Okay? 3 pi over 4. So when they say the angle is in between 3 pi over 4 and pi, they're talking about right in here. Or really they're saying the second quadrant. Okay? They're talking about the second quadrant. And so when you go back and look at, in this case we're talking about cosine, we know cosine in the second quadrant is going to be the negative version of this formula. Okay? We know cosine is negative, we know sine is positive, we know tangent is negative in that second quadrant. And so that's kind of the first step that you need to do, and it's a tricky one. A lot of people are going to forget about that step. Otherwise, we just start kind of rolling here. All right? We've got negative square root of cosine s, but cosine s was given to us as 2/3. So that's square root of 2/3 plus 1 over 2. So I would recommend getting a common denominator here. We're adding fractions. So we have negative square root of 2 plus 3 is 5 over 3 all over 2. And we want to think of that as a fraction, and when we're dividing fractions, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And so that cleans up a bit to negative square root of 5/6. At which point we're almost finished, but we would want to rationalize the denominator like usual. That's going to be this negative square root 30 over 6. Okay, so cosine s over 2 equals negative square root of 30 over 6. So then let's look at sine s over 2. Sine s over 2. So again, normally that's going to be a plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine s over 2. But because I know we're in the second quadrant, I know that s over 2 is going, or sine is going to be the positive version. Okay? So we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We've got positive square root. 1 minus cosine s was 2/3 all over 2. Get a common denominator there because we're combining fractions. And we have square root of 3 minus 2 is 1/3 all over 2. That's a fraction, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal in the same way as what we just did a minute ago. And that gives me the square root of 1/6. Again, we're going to rationalize the denominator, and we end up with the square root of 6 over 6. Square root of 6 over 6. So when I look at sine s over 2, that's the square root of 6 over 6. And so now let's do tangent s over 2. There are a couple of different things. The longer you go in these problems, the more options you have. And so, you know, maybe what I want to do is look at well, notice we have three options. We have three options for what to do for our formulas, but I would probably want to stay away from the ones with the sign in it, because I don't know anything about sine. I guess I could figure it out, but I would probably want to use the one that just had cosine in it, because this problem gives me cosine s was 2/3. So normally what I would do is I would look at this plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine s over 1 plus cosine s, and just do kind of the same process. And you can, if you want to, or if you know that tangent s over 2 is equal to sine s over 2 over cosine s over 2, you've really got two different options. Option 1 is use that half angle identity, or option 2 is use our normal tangent identity with sine and cosine. I think the second way is easier, so maybe that's what I'm going to do. Okay. I know sine s over 2, I just found it, was square root of 6 over 6. And cosine s over 2, we just found that, was square root of 30 over 6. So those 6's are going to cancel out. You can, I mean, if you want to think about it as multiply by the reciprocal, it's pretty obvious why the 6's cancel out. We have negative square root of 6 over square root of 30. And we can rationalize that. Actually, we can reduce a fraction. 6 goes into 35 times. Because you can reduce that way. But I'm looking at, what's that going to be? Negative square root of 1 over square root of 5 now. Okay, let's rationalize. This isn't the only way of simplifying, but it's one way of simplifying. We have negative square root of 5 over 5. And so tangent s over 2 is negative square root of 5